Hello everyone, and today we are back for another Loomian Legacy Top 5 video, and we're going to be talking about the top 5 most overpowered abilities in all of Loomian Legacy. I made this list years ago, and honestly my opinions have changed a lot. Not to mention that there are even new abilities that are more powerful than some of the older ones. So with that out of the way, let's head right onto this top 5 list. Number 5 onto this list is going to be Slick Shell. This Loomian's range defense is doubled when you have this ability. Now this ability is pretty controversial because only one Loomian has this ability at the moment, Terraclaw. You could technically surrogate this ability on Dorgo or Cosmure, but Terraclaw is the only Loomian to have this ability, and Terraclaw is honestly not the best Loomian in this meta. It's a very bulky range tank, but that's kind of it. But Slick Shell is the reason why Terraclaw is such a bulky range tank, because it doesn't just double your base range defense, it also doubles your range defense TPs and traits like Very Clever. So when you combine Slick Shell with your base range defense, 200 range defense TPs, and Very Clever, that's how you can have a Loomian that's really bulky on the range side, despite only having a base range defense stat of 52. That's why Terraclaw is one of the bulkiest range tanks in all of Loomian Legacy. Again, the reason why this ability isn't higher is because Terraclaw is the only Loomian to have this ability, and no other Loomian can use it. But the ability is so good. You literally double in range defense. And that's why it makes the list, despite not being on a very powerful Loomian. Number 4 onto this list is going to be Ace. As a master of your element, your attack type bonus is raised from 25% to 100%. You basically gain a lot more attack when using stab moves. There's only one Loomian that has Ace, and it's Wrestling. And when you combine the Ace ability with a Loomian that has 130 melee attack and a 120 power stab move, makes Wrestling one of the hardest hitting melee attackers in the entire game. Ace, in general, is just one of the best offensive abilities in all of Loomian Legacy, and it beats all of the other offensive abilities out of the water. It beats Obsidian Heart, Chilling Passion, Boiling Press. It destroys all the other damage boosting abilities. Boast, Awakening. Ace is by far on top. But the only reason why Ace isn't higher is because, again, Wrestling's the only Loomian to have this ability, and since it's a pure brawler type, let's just say certain spirit types can kind of wall your brawler type attacks. You do have coverage in Blaze Punch and Frost Punch and Electro Punch, but they don't hit spirit types super effectively unless their opposing type is weak to it. Still, the Ace ability is one of the most overpowered abilities in all of Loomian Legacy, and it definitely deserves to be in the top 5 of this list, despite not being on the best Loomian in the world. It's simply that overpowered. Number 3 onto this list is going to be the Power Napper ability. You restore some HP when withdrawn from battle. And it's free. You could swap out, you gain free HP back. Honestly, I think Power Napper should be nerfed because I think you gain a little too much HP. As you can see, my Luminami's HP is at 264. And yes, Luminami is also the main Lumian that uses Power Napper. You can use Infernix too, but Luminami's better because it has Flash and Flame. So as you can see, it goes from 264 to 365. You can actually gain a decent chunk of HP back from just swapping out with Power Napper. That ability is so good. There are no downsides with Power Napper. And you could say that with Ace and Slick Shell, but Slick Shell only increases your range defense, while Ace only boosts your stab moves. Power Napper, if you swap out, you will always gain HP back, no matter what. Unless there's Fog Up, of course, because, you know, Luminami isn't a spirit type. But other than that, you will always get HP back from Power Napper. And this makes Luminami one of the most overpowered Loomians in the game because it's slow, has Power Napper to regain HP, and very bulky. So it can soak the hit, pivot out into a devastating wall breaker, and boom, you're set up for a sweep. And that's why Power Napper is number 3 on this list. The number 2 ability on this list is going to be Tank. Halves the damage of the first hit this Loomian takes in battle. Now, this is a very controversial pick because Slick Shell, you keep your doubled range defense for the rest of the battle, while Tank is only impacted on the first hit. Now, there could be an understanding of Tank being worse than Slick Shell, but the reason why I put Tank higher than Slick Shell is because Tank increases your defenses on both sides. And there are actually some very good Loomians that can use Tank. you can use a tank Mutagon, and you can live any hit in the entire game with a tank Mutagon. It's actually kind of insane. Use a defensive Mutagon with health amulet. It's actually surprisingly decent on walling some meta Loomians. But of course, tank is known on your snack. And for a Loomian, you know Luminami that's slow and can pivot into a wall breaker? Well, your stack's even better because it's bulkier, has a better defensive typing, and lowers the opposing Loomian speed with Baffle. So you take the first hit, you take almost no damage, and Baffle into the opposing Loomian. That's what makes tank so overpowered, is that you can swap out and swap back in, and the tank will return. And it affects on both sides, which unlike Slick Shell, only affects your range defense. And that's why tank is number 2 on this list. Honorable mentions on this list, and honorable mention number 1 is Regift. When targeted by another Loomian support move, you send it back to the user. This is one of the best suicide lead abilities because there's a lot of Loomians that either place down hazards, hypnotizes you, or provokes you. You're provoke bait, no hazards can be placed on you, and you could also stop hypnotizes. Regift is very overpowered, but it's not put on the best Loomians, and that's why it's only an honorable mention on this list. The second honorable mention is Trash Armor. This Loomian's melee defense is boosted by 50%. And while it isn't quite as good as Slick Shell, the thing that makes Trash Armor better in its own right is on Loomians like Garbantus and Scampy, where you boost its range defense, you invest into that, and not only are you a good melee tank, but you also hit extremely hard with Battering Ram and Body Crash, and that's what makes Trash Armor a really good ability. But it's only an honorable mention. The most overpowered ability in all of Loomian Legacy is Total Eclipse. When struck by a light or dark type attack, this Loomian absorbs it to boost its speed. And of course, this is the exclusive ability for one Loomian, Eclipse. And even with Eclipse falling out of favor as of late, everyone has to admit that Eclipse has the most overpowered ability in all of Loomian Legacy. It's immune to dark, it's immune to light. And since Eclipse is a light type, it's also immune to spirit. It has only 2 weaknesses and 3 immunities. And Eclipse is basically used just as a soak for dark type attacks. There's no other Loomian in the entire game that can soak dark type moves. That makes Eclipse rather valuable when building teams. And that's why Total Eclipse is number 1. Not to mention, you also get a speed buff when hit by those light and dark type moves, which makes Total Eclipse even better. Eclipse, honestly, without Total Eclipse, would probably not be a very good Loomian. But with Total Eclipse, makes Eclipse a potential top 20 Loomian in all of Loomian Legacy. Again, because you're immune to dark type attacks, and no other Loomian can do that. And that's why Total Eclipse is the most overpowered ability in all of Loomian Legacy. And here it is. Total Eclipse, the best ability in all of Loomian Legacy. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I couldn't fit all the abilities on the list because there's honestly so many good ones. Like, Awakening, Obsidian Heart, and other just nuance abilities. There's some very good abilities in this game. So I couldn't fit all of them in the video. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see y'all all later. Bye-bye!